Picture this totally familiar evening in almost any household. You've got a teenager sitting at a desk, it's 7 p.m. They're surrounded by open tabs, a buzzing group chat, some background music, and somewhere buried in all that, their actual homework. A couple of hours go by, they lean back, and they genuinely feel like they've been studying all night. But have they really? Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to take a really close look at what we call the homework illusion. What usually follows this scenario is a super frustrating reality for everyone involved. Parents glance at the desk, they see unfinished work, and they instantly assume their child just isn't trying. But the child? Well, they remember sitting there for hours, putting in real mental effort, and they feel completely and totally unfairly criticized. And the crazy part is, both sides are actually observing something real. There's just a massive disconnect in understanding what's truly happening inside the brain. So, in this explainer, we're going to unpack the science of exactly why this happens without pointing any fingers and walk through a really practical framework to fix it. We're covering 1. The multitasking illusion, 2. The anatomy of a task switch, 3. The resistance to single tasking, 4. The 5-part focus plan, and finally 5. The 7-day comparison. All right, jumping right into section 1, the multitasking illusion, or why what looks like overlap is actually just rapid shifting. You know, the idea that using several screens at once is an efficient way to work is a total myth, and it's one we urgently need to rethink. We so often think we're multitasking, doing two things at the exact same time. And hey, for highly practiced physical actions, sure, you can walk and chew gum. But when two activities require language, decision-making, or memory, the human brain literally cannot overlap them. We aren't multitasking. We are rapidly task switching. We're just violently bouncing our attention back and forth between things. Let's think about what that actually means in practice. Reading a history chapter while responding to a group chat, both of those require language processing. Solving math while watching a video story, both demand your attention to changing information. Because these activities are actively competing for the exact same pathways in your working memory, your mind feels constantly busy. But here's the kicker. That feeling of intense mental exhaustion, that is not productive learning. Which brings us to section 2, anatomy of a task switch. Let's uncover the hidden mental cost of just one single, seemingly harmless notification. I want you to really feel the effort it takes to recover your original train of thought here. Let's trace a quick timeline. At second 0, you're holding a complex math problem in your mind. At second 5, a notification pulls you away. By minute 1, you're reading and replying to it. But look at minutes 2 and 3. When you switch back, you don't just magically instantly resume working. You have to rebuild that entire mental setup from scratch. You're asking yourself, wait, what was the question? Which step was next? Why did I even write that number down? Every single time you switch back, your brain pays a massive cognitive tax. And the compounding interest on that tax is incredibly steep. Tasks obviously take much longer to complete, but worse than that, comprehension weakens because ideas are being processed in these broken little fragments. Mistakes naturally spike from lost steps, and the mind just becomes completely exhausted from the constant stop and start. Crucially, a glance at a phone feels like 2 seconds to a teen, but the invisible recovery time is huge. This perfectly explains that classic family standoff. The child is exhausted from real cognitive effort, but the parent sees very little actual output. Okay, section 3, the resistance to single tasking. We're focusing on empathy over accusation here. Because before we can look at solutions, we have to understand why teens prefer this chaotic digital environment in the first place, rather than just viewing it as some lack of discipline. Let's be real for a second and look at what these distractions actually offer. Messages provide vital social connection, videos offer instant novelty, and frankly, phones provide a highly effective, brief escape from the boredom, confusion, or even fear of failure that challenging homework brings up. Children resist single tasking not because they don't care about school, but because digital distractions are highly rewarding, while the homework itself can feel deeply uncomfortable. So what's the fix? Well, the key takeaway here is to reduce active competitors, not just banish all background sound. The goal isn't absolute library-level silence. Familiar instrumental music might be perfectly fine. The absolutely crucial step is identifying and removing activities that demand active attention and force the brain to process new information, like a group text or a YouTube video. Moving right along to section 4, the 5-part focus plan, a realistic approach to homework. How do we actually help children experience that profound difference between just being busy and truly being focused? We can rely on this super simple, non-judgmental 5-part plan. Step 1. Define one visible task. Don't just vaguely say, finish your homework. Give their attention a clear destination, something like complete problems 1 through 5. Step 2. Remove those active competitors. Silence the non-essential notifications. Step 3. Use a realistic focus period. We aren't forcing 3 hours of unbroken concentration here. Use a manageable block of time. Step 4. Take a planned break to stretch or, yes, even check the phone. And finally, step 5, review the result together. Ask how it went and what interrupted them.
And I can't stress this enough. How we communicate this plan matters immensely. Try saying something like, both of these activities need your attention. Let's decide which one comes first. Using helpful, collaborative language like this, instead of barking, give me your phone, you have no self-control, turns a potential argument into teamwork. It protects a manageable period of genuine focus without making the child feel attacked.
Which leads us into section 5, the 7-day comparison. This is all about testing environments, not judging character. It's a brilliant way to objectively show, rather than just tell, the benefits of focus. Families can try a really simple 7-day experiment. Just start tracking a few basic metrics: time taken, reminders needed, errors, and frustration level. For a few days, let them use their usual multitasking pattern and just record the results. Then, try the single task plan for a few days. By recording these simple observations, you aren't embarrassing the child at all. You're discovering together which environment actually makes learning more efficient and way less painful. The data will completely speak for itself. Now, a very important caveat here. Actually, scratch the phone for a second. If you implement a single task environment and the homework remains unusually difficult, you have to look beyond the tech. If quiet doesn't magically fix things, the real issue might be unclear instructions, an overly demanding reading level, hidden learning difficulties, or underlying anxiety. The phone isn't always the only culprit. We've covered a lot of ground in this explainer today, but take this thought with you. The goal is never, ever to force students to work endlessly without rest or technology. The real goal is to help them finally recognize the profound difference between a mind juggling chaotic tasks and a mind that is powerfully, peacefully focused on one thing at a time. So the very next time you sit down to work, I want you to ask yourself, are you just being busy or are you truly being focused?